mean, advantages, I don't really find there to be any advantages per se. The advantage is for the agent. The agent makes twice the money. This is the beautiful part of dual agency. I can get paid everything on a house, and I can get paid for the buyer and the seller. What's the advantage for the seller? Sometimes for the seller, for me personally, in my listing contracts, if I have it in there that says, if I represent a buyer on this purchase, then I'll give the seller a break on the listing fee. So sometimes I'll incentivize the seller with a lower fee to go with a buyer that we're representing. But it's really tricky because the question is, you had your fiduciary duty to the seller first. How do I know you're representing me as a buyer, in the best way when your responsibility was first to the seller? Well, here's the deal. You just got to take that chance. A lot of people will go with the listing agent because they think that's how they can get the house. If I don't go with the listing agent, I'm going to lose. It's not necessarily the case. It's a very competitive market, but I am always a fan of having a buyer separately represented in an escrow when I'm the listing agent, because I just don't want to deal with it. It's nice to make the double money, but there's so much room for error. There's so many things that can go wrong, and there's so much money on the line. And we're always trying to avoid lawsuits, and I think staying away from dual agencies, although they're great because you can make twice the money, is a really safe way to keep yourself out of lawsuits. For me, there's way more cons than pros. The pros, again, the pros are that you're going to get the house because you're going directly to the listing agent. But why are you getting in that house? Because you're putting double money in his pocket. So he's got a financial motivation to get you that property, not a motivation to get you the property because of who you are and you're his client. So I don't like that. You need somebody separate from the listing agent to protect you in the process. And I'll usually, if I have a dual agency, I'll let my wife represent the buyer separately, or I'll have my manager represent the buyer separately. We will always create some separation on a dual agency so that the other agents in the process and the other buyers who are competing on that house feel that they at least had a fair shake. They had a fair chance at it, even though the listing agent represented the buyer. See, that's the biggest problem. Like, did I ever have a chance to get this property if the listing agent represented the buyer? Did he not show my offer to the seller because he's going to make a double commission? I don't know. These are the things you start to wonder and question, when you don't get the house and the agent who does get it as the dual agent. So it can get a little tricky. I mean, there are some pros, but I think there's more cons and more risk as you're putting the responsibility on the listing agent to do the right thing, right? Anytime you're expecting people to do the right thing or to be honest, you're putting yourself out there for the possibility that they might not do that. So when you are separately represented in a transaction by a listing agent and a buyer's agent, there is no opportunity for that to happen. So I find that that's the safest way to do it. But sometimes somebody walks into the house, they love it, they want to buy it, and you're there and they don't have representation, so you do it in good faith.